What we do here is go back, 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 back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Word on the Curb. Yes, it's been a minute since I did a Word on the Curb because it's been so much happening with Meghan and Harry actually. And so I've been doing the read just consistently. But it's slowed down a little bit. It's not that much going on. Megan's Instagram is pretty much her entertaining for the 4th of July, and we kind of covered that yesterday. So basically, I decided to not do the read today, but do a word on the curb where I feature a lot of the squatties posts, what they're talking about, because they might not all go together. Because a lot of times squatties be talking about a whole lot of stuff. Sometimes they reach back and get stuff, and they'll be talking about that. Some things they're talking about, is speculation. How they think, what they feel, and sometimes it's strategy. Should we be talking about kitty cat or not, or should we just mute that whole family or not? So conversations like that go on, and we're going to talk about that because like I said, it's not that much going on with Harry and Meghan right now. And it seems like the British press, they up to their normal nonsense, but nothing so out of pocket that I feel like is worth being addressed. And that's the way I am. I'm not gonna address something, something silly or something like that. But if it's vicious and it's egregious, I'm gonna address that. But as long as it's silly or something like that, and usually I put it like this: if that dog is not hunting, then I kind of just let that slide. I think you have to pick and choose your battles. And right now, they're just absolutely spinning out of control. They really are. They're coming up with the most ridiculous things. And, like Meghan didn't love Harry when she married him. The Queen hated Meghan and all kinds of old matter of nonsense like that. Of course, you take a little time to push back on that. But in actuality, they have come to the realization that that dog is not hunting like it used to. So I don't just keep addressing it and keep addressing it. But I just like sometimes just to share some of the posts, some of the random posts that the squatties are posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, and let us chit chat about it, because a lot of times they really be putting stuff up that really make me think, stuff I have forgotten about, that might be in need of readdressing. Yeah, so that is what this particular word on the curb is about. So first I want to put this up. This is happening on these internet streets. Swatties always post pictures of Harry and Meghan, but it seems like it's just more and more on my timeline of very, very beautiful pictures of Harry and Meghan. So I found this one on my timeline, and it's not the run of the mill one. It's when Megan was pregnant with Archie, and she was especially beautiful. I have never saw a pregnant woman as beautiful as Megan was when she was pregnant with Archie. And so, yes, they had some engagement, and they had to walk, you know, down a path, and it was magical. And this particular squatty posted that picture. And I say this particular squatter because it's from the Powers, and that's an online magazine. And it's an article attached to this picture, and it is a really, really good article. As you can see, there is the link to it if you would like to read it. But yes, I just found this picture so appealing, so I decided to share it. And aren't they beautiful? Aren't they a beautiful couple? And that right there is a reason why William and Kate and Charles and Camilla lost their SHIT, because of the magic that these two absolutely obviously have. I mean, look at them. They look like, just like this particular squatty, or which is this squatty. I'll put it to you like this: this person who writes the power is definitely a squatty. So I'm going to call him a squatty. And like they said, it said picture so good it could be an ad. Where is the lie? Harry and Meghan is such a beautiful couple. They're beautiful individually, and together they are magic. And that right there is the reason why they were bullied out of that family, because they saw it. They saw the shine. Those two together is just magical. And that family over there, the left behinds, they wanted that to stop. And they really thought once Harry and Meghan was bullied out of that family, because they thought the shine, the real shine for Harry and Meghan was their association with the crown, with their associations with them. And so they said to themselves, if we take that away from them, they no longer will shine, and the people will remain with us. Yes, they thought that. And they thought if I dim their light, my light will seem brighter. That's what William and Kate thought. They thought, well, if we put out Harry and Meghan's light, making them, putting them in exile to the point where they're not adjacent to the crown anymore. They'll lose their ability to shine. Our light is going to seem much brighter. You could tell after Harry and Meghan left, William and Kate seemed just more energized. They seemed giddy and happy. They really thought that they were going to be the ones who absolutely captured the world like Harry and Meghan did. They were running behind, just doing all the things that Harry and Meghan had did prior to them leaving. They even went over there to Grenville, empty-handed, I might add. They went over there and had never even thought about those people over there. But because Meghan was working with the Hub Kitchen and the success of that cookbook, they could not stand that. But the minute Harry and Meghan was ran off, they went running over there to Grenville. And even Kate had the audacity to wear the same shoes that Meghan had wore on a prior engagement. This is who these people were. And they really, really thought that Harry and Meghan, the shine was not going to go anywhere. It was with the crown. But boy, they really got that one wrong, didn't they? I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this one up. And this particular squatty is pretty much saying what I just said. And it says, y'all, them people on Misery Island truly thought my fave was irrelevant. Like, they really thought we only liked her because of her association with them. They really believed that. That is the reason why they were working so hard to get Harry and Meghan out of there, because they never anticipated the blowback. They never anticipated that the shine would leave with Harry and Meghan. I mean, all of this is just absolutely mind blowing to them because they have never ever experienced anything like the Sussex Squad, like Harry and Meghan's popularity. Well, they did with Diana, but at the time of Diana, it was no social media. It is a whole new world, really. They don't get to set the narrative. They don't get to decide who are the winners and losers anymore. They don't have that power. That power lies in the hands of the people because of social media. And they don't know how to handle it. They don't. They're not used to the pushback. They're not used to getting any blowback from what they do. They have been used to being able to do whatever they wanted to do as long as the rags were, you know, running interference for them, taking up for them, lying for them, and doing the dirty work for them. They absolutely has been able to do it. Unfeathered. They have been able to abuse whoever they wanted to. But now that is not the case. It is not. And they really, really are shooketh about it. Just like this squatty said, they really thought Harry and Meghan, their popularity was not going to continue on because it would be that they are not associated with them anymore. They thought all of Harry and Meghan's popularity was due to their association and their connection to the crown. That's why they're always talking about strip them of their titles, strip them of their title. Well, that's what Squatty said. Go ahead, strip them of their titles because that is not going to stop the train from running on time. It's not going to stop Meghan from becoming the billionaire. It's not going to stop Harry from being a global advocate. It's not going to stop anything. All it's going to do is make you look like the fool that you are. The petty, vindictive, bitter, very, very bitter individuals. It is going to be a self-inflicted wound. And that's why squatties we're not like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. No, do that. Do that because it's only going to hasten your own demise. I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this one up. And the squatties are talking about this. I'm going to read it first and then I'll discuss. It says, they are using reverse psychology on y'all because the only people who hold that family's feet to the fire are the Sussex Squad. Didn't that family's big house recently leak that the one who sits on the throne isn't happy because Harry's supporters think he's a bad father? If they aren't going to make you change your opinion, they're going to try to get you quiet. Because if the squad doesn't question SHIT, that's their end goal. Exactly. Exactly. Now, we know that that whole article came out about, them talking about Megan's business. They got that from the squatties posting about that they hadn't received their jam. And we even talked about it on this particular podcast here. And my thoughts on that was maybe it would have been better if you had to stay quiet because at the end of the day, Meghan was making good on it. Now, this, and like I said, the way I figured this to be is that they are trying to use the squatties in order to get them, writing these articles in order for the squatties to be quiet about things. But just like I said earlier, I feel that you have to pick and choose what you talk about. Now, when it comes to Meghan or critiquing anything that's going on with Meghan, that needs to be in-house. That should be in-house. That's something that should be taught, in spaces or among squatties. not in on a public forum for them to go in and find things in order to use against Meghan. But should we talk about that family over there? Should we hold them accountable? Should we call them out on their bull? You know what? Absolutely, we should. And I have said that a lot of squatties, even in the comments, I done, you know, some people have said to me, we shouldn't compare Meghan to Kate, or we shouldn't talk about Meghan and Kate together. Why not? Why not? Why shouldn't we? If Kate is cosplaying Meghan, we should absolutely put that out, in my opinion. If they want to write about that, let them write about that, because we want them to write about that. If we're talking about that on X, formerly known as Twitter, if we're talking about that on Blue Sky or over Instagram, I don't see anything wrong with them writing about it, because at the end of the day, it's the truth. It's the truth. And it is not to Meghan's detriment, it is to Kitty Cat's detriment, because we come with the receipts. We're not just talking out the side of our neck saying that Kate is cosplaying Meghan. No, we coming with the receipts. We coming with the pictures. We coming with the dates. And if they want to use that, let them use that. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's no blowback for Meghan. It's only blowback for Kitty. And so that is my point. You have to push back on the nonsense. You have to talk about that family, because if you think they're going to let up because you decide to push a mute button and not talk about them at all and pretend like they are invisible, that's exactly what they want you to do. They want to be able to abuse Meghan in peace. And this particular squatty said they're using reverse psychology to try to get squatties to do that. But at the end of the day, this one is not doing that. And I have said it time and time again. This is why my whole channel was created, was about the pushback. Like I said, you will never catch me criticizing Meghan or Harry or saying anything negative in that way. Because if I have something to say, I will say it within the context of between squatties. And that's the way I think that should be handled. It should be handled in-house. But my whole thing, if you look at the whole picture, what is it to criticize Meghan and Harry about? I don't know. But like I said, I am going to criticize those people over there. I am going to call them out. I am going to compare them to Harry and Meghan. I'm going to do that. And if those rags over there want to use anything that I have to say, let them. Because at the end of the day, it's always going to benefit Harry and Meghan and be to their detriment if it's coming out of my mouth. I'm just saying. And let's go on with what this squatter said. But I had to make that point. And I do think that this is them trying to get the Sussex squad to shut up. I have saw it so many times. I'm going to be mute. Put that on mute. Don't talk about Kitty Cat. Ignore her. We're doing a mute challenge. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. And I hope you can respect me enough to understand that this is the way I want to move forward, because I respect you. I don't tell anybody what to do, but I don't want nobody telling me what to do. And I don't see any benefit in not talking about them and letting them say and do anything without pushback. Where is the benefit of that? Why are we even a Sussex squad if we're not here to defend? I'm just saying, a question that needs to be asked. But I digress. And this squatty goes on to say, we can still talk about them without mentioning their names. There is a lot of names you can use and won't help them tick the algorithm. Now, this is another story that's out there that because squatties talk about them, it absolutely affects the algorithm, and they get a lot of hits, a lot of mentions to their name. And I think it's an article out there bragging about how many times their names are mentioned, and they don't distinguish between, the negative or the positive. It's just how many times that their names are mentioned. And that is the reason why I try to use, code names like Kitty Cat and Slumlord Willie and Willie and on and not use their name. And I think that's a good idea. I really, really do. Even when you're going up under posts, to try not to use their proper name. But sometimes I will use their proper name, but most of the time I try to avoid it. And this is what this squad is saying, is that we need to try to starve the algorithm and not use their names so they won't be accredited with that engagement. And I agree with that. I absolutely do. So y'all notice I always say, well, not always, but most of the time I'll say Willie or Slumlord Willie or Peggy, or sometimes most of the time I call her Kitty Cat, the horse, and I do say Charles a lot, but I don't put the king in front of it. So yeah, I think that is a great idea. And I am definitely going to be more aware of that. And then this squatty goes on to say, until they leave our girl alone, there won't be any silence here. Exactly. Me and this particular squatty, we're on the same page. We are the same mind. We are. Because I have said it time and time again. When they stop, we stop. And it's just that simple. But as long as they going in on our faves, I'm going in on them. And that is just the way that's going to be. I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this one up. And this is a response to that post. And this squatty said this. Yes, we are challenging them at every corner at the same time, calling out their inconsistencies because we keep receipts. And we are right. Our opinions and takes are getting widespread to the neutrals, and them to have started questioning stuff, and they hate that. They have never been here before because the media has never pushed back on any of their shenanigans. But the squad do, and this is a shock to their system. That's exactly what I just said. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is so important to hold them accountable, not to let them or allow them to abuse Harry and Meghan unchallenged. It is working. The squad is absolutely making a difference out there. When the one that sits on the throne says that he absolutely fears what Harry supporters are going to say about him being a bad father, oh yes, we are having an effect. And that is the reason why I said I don't understand what in the world a mute challenge is going to do to help the cause. Now, I'm not saying that, it's right or wrong, but enlighten me. That's all I'm saying. Enlighten me, because I don't see how it helps at all. The only people I can see that it helps that family over there, because they can absolutely say and do whatever they want to say, and ain't nobody saying anything about it. And basically, that is exactly what they want. I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this one up. And Kaiser posted this of Meghan. in her beautiful dress for the 4th of July, enjoying herself, just being free and happy. And Kaiser said she looks like such a princess here. She does. She looks the part. And this was a repost. And the original post said Sussex 4th of July cocktail hour. Duchess Meghan looks absolutely stunning. Wow. Yeah, she looks the part of a princess. She is a modern day princess. She went in there and redefined the role of a modern day princess, just like Princess Diana redefined the role of a modern day princess. And that is the reason why they hate Meghan, because it wasn't supposed to be Meghan. That was supposed to be Kate. But Kate is mediocre. She is. She is a mannequin. I mean, with nothing to add to anything. But yet and still, Meghan is that modern day princess. She has beauty, brain, substance. I mean, she is the complete package. But it wasn't supposed to be her. And that is the reason why they're so mad. All right, I'm gonna put these two up, and they came up under Kaiser's post and said this: Meghan is the actual fairy tale princess living her ever after with her prince. Where is the lie? And like I said, it wasn't supposed to be Meghan. It was supposed to be Kate. It was supposed to be William, not Harry and Meghan. And they cannot stand it. And the other squatty came under that and said, and that's what angers some people. Exactly. It never was supposed to be the princess that had came from African descent. It wasn't supposed to be the spare, the one that they have used for a scapegoat and to throw under the bus time and time again. It wasn't supposed to happen for them. It was supposed to be William and Kate. And because it's not them, then this is why we have the smear campaign. But boy, it's sure not working. And it is showing on William and Kate's face. They look like train wrecks. They do. Because they're not living their happily ever after. The one that they thought was theirs. It was supposed to be theirs. They were just that arrogant. And boy, it didn't turn out that way, did it? I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this one up. And this is a repost. And the original post is from Zanny Sussex. And I love to give her props because every week she put up a quote and it is always chef's kiss. And I just always want to give her props for that. And this week's quote is this: your toxic family doesn't actually want you. They want the version of you who stays silent and compliant with the dysfunction or the abuse. Where is the lie? They don't want the version of Harry that he is now, the strong Harry, the capable Harry, the independent Harry, the Harry who is not going to let them get away with the bullshit. They don't want that version of Harry. They want the Harry that's compliant. They want the one that stayed silent as they abused him and scapegoated him and set him up time and time again. That's what they want. They want the drunk Harry. They want the Harry that's falling out of the club. The one that, when put in comparison with William, is the failing one. That's the Harry that they want. But the one that is present, they don't want that Harry. That is why the smear campaign came in, to try to break him. How many times did we hear that he's going to come back with his tail between his legs? That's the Harry that they want. They want the Harry that has his tail between his legs. I'm just saying. And the squatty that reposted this said this. That's why they want Harry back, to be William's scapegoat and workhorse, while the royal family tells the British tabloids to paint him as stupid, a drunk idiot. Harry is so much more than their narrative they painted of him. I'm so glad he's freed himself and took his family with him. Where is the lie? They always talking about he's thick, he's stupid. And my whole thing is, how can Harry be thick and stupid and have way more accolades than the one that y'all put on the pedestal and say that he is the ideal? William. Where is William's accolades? Harry has created a portfolio that anybody would envy. They would envy to have such a portfolio. But yet and still, he's the dumb one. He's the stupid one. He's the one that falls out of the club drunk. He's the one that is mentally unstable. Yes, while you got one who cannot control his emotions to the point where they're describing him as incandescent with rage all the time. But Harry is the one with the mental problem. Yes, this is exactly what they want. They want the version of him that is silent and compliant. I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm going to put this one up. And this particular squatty said, if Harry and Meghan were unpopular, the media wouldn't spend this much energy trying to convince you. Exactly. Exactly. They cannot keep Harry and Meghan's name out of their mouths. And they really have absolutely overplayed their hand, because they never ever say anything positive about Harry and Meghan. People question their sincerity. It absolutely, even people who have been neutral are starting to see through the BS, because they're constantly harping over and over again, painting Harry and Meghan in this negative light. And then they see Harry and Meghan, and they are truly sweet people who just love each other. And they have built such a beautiful family and a beautiful home. And they're like, these can't be the same people that these people are harping on day after day after day. It just could not be the two people that we're seeing. It just do not match. And that is the reason why they are losing. They are, because more and more that Harry and Meghan are seen, more and more people do not believe anything that these people are saying. This whole machine has come up against the Sussex squad and Harry and Meghan, and they have lost. Because, like I said, Harry and Meghan do their part because they show themselves to be the real, genuine people that they are. And the Sussex squad calls out the BS, pushback on the BS, and they are losing. They want to try to convince you that they're winning, but in actuality, they're losing. And this squatty goes on to say, look around. It's clear who's actually winning. Where is the lie? Where is it? Because I cannot find it. Yes, we're winning. Harry and Meghan are winning. And it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Being mute is not going to get you where you need to be. Being mute is what they want you to be, so they can carry on with their nonsense. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this word on the curb. It is just a whole, just a hodgepodge of what the squatties are talking about online, and all the things that they're talking about on the curb. and I hope you enjoyed it. The reader be back soon. Like I said, it's just not much going on, so we're just gonna see what the squatters are talking about. But we all know tomorrow, the it's Sunday, so of course the fail and all those other rags are gonna come up with some nonsense, and of course we're gonna be right there to push back. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.